Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, it seems that interest rates have now risen to 4.5%, 4.5%. So we've just gone up from 4.25. So because that's how they raise it. They raise it by the quarter, not in time by the interest rates, by the quarter. So now if this country hits 5%, which I'm telling you from now is going to go higher than 5%. But that is the stage where you rarely see. I mean, it could be up to a million people have to hand their keys back. You'll be saying these are like the piano men, the piano people. They've got so much keys, they've got to hand them back, right? They'll be taking keys back faster than they took keys away from Pablo Escobar, because you see, unfortunately, right, these people have no control over the economy. The economy is completely out of control. Right? You know, everything they're telling you is just a load of bollocks. It's all lies. The Bank of England are even struggling now. They're saying, oh yeah, we're going, in 6 months' time or whatever, it'll be half. Really? You see, this is what happens, yeah, in a world where you think that because people have been to university, they know what they're speaking about. Those people, those economists, right, they're all gamblers. That's it. They're all people who should just really be in the local bookies. That's it. Just like Rishi Sunak, just a gambler, right? But unfortunately for them, this time, yeah, they have completely lost control of what they're doing, because of the biggest market next door to us that is difficult to get our goods into, makes it difficult to attract any big business to come here. And then the fact of the matter is that house prices are so expensive that coming here and setting up a business, you've got high house prices, you've got the fact that you can't get your stuff straight into the EU. Everything's going against this country. We've got a lack of doctors and nurses and teachers, and all of that is for a reason, because these people are professionals, and the majority of them can't work where they live. Especially like, if they're living in London. I mean, if on a teacher's salary, I mean, unless they're like an older teacher, the majority of them would probably have to rent a room on their salary if they're living in London. And that's not really any kind of living. So so this is where the problems are coming in. The house prices are just far too high. But I'm wondering whether or not the Bank of England, yeah, are deliberately orchestrating a property crash in this country, because I mean that would be a way of dealing with the housing market, because obviously house prices just they're just too high. So something's got, somewhere along the line, something's got to give, because they're just too high. So that could be a way of making the house prices completely crash, because obviously then the banks have got like over a million houses. They might have over a million houses or properties to sell. So that could in effect actually bring some of that, and then if they go on a proper house building program, building some proper social housing, whether it's to rent or to buy, then that could go a long way. But I don't think that any of the politicians in this country, yeah, have especially any of the ones that are in now, I don't think any of them are even thinking. They say they're thinking about that, but I don't think any of them really are thinking about that. I think they're just like, they just tell people what they want to hear. You see, I really do believe that the only politician, right, that's worth voting for us is the politician they tell us not to vote for. Right? And at the moment, we haven't got anyone that's telling us not to vote for at the moment, apart from maybe, I don't know. They haven't really got anyone who they know to themselves, well, is close enough to power and could actually take power and would change the system completely. So we haven't got anyone like that, and we're not going to have anyone like that for probably another 25, 30 years anyway. So the only politician who was really out there for us, Jeremy Corbyn. And that's the reason why they went to the lengths they did to make sure that he didn't get into power. Because they know that he would have come along and he would have built a load of houses. He would have taken all private money out of all of the industries that our private money should not be in. There should be no one making profits out of utilities, out of train lines. No one should be making profits out of water companies. None of that should be going on. Right, but so much people in this country will argue the point with you. Actually, no, right? It's better that these companies make a profit. And you think, well, why would you even think like that, right? Because that's directly our money going out of the country, right? People just taking it out of the country, right? With the consent of the people of this country, right? Because all they have to do is just say to the people, like, you know something, right? What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all the blacks and all the bloody Asians. We're going to get rid of all of them. So vote for us. While you've got Suella Braverman, right, paying her parents' utility costs. Right? Or let's go for another one, right? Boris Johnson, right? You can't get legal aid. You can't get legal aid. Don't matter what money you've got, you can't get legal aid. Okay, it's really difficult to get. Now, people going in court with some serious cases can't get legal aid. Why is it that Boris Johnson, man who's made £5 million, right, gets legal aid to fight Partygate? Because I'm telling you, that there's a difference in this country, right? The government despise the people, hate the people with a real passion. They think the people of this country are a big load of shit. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So we're going straight over to America, and we're going to carry on with Donald Trump and his libel case against E. Jean Carroll, where he has been found guilty, right? Not of rape. I think he's been found guilty of rape, especially as what he was saying in his deposition, because Donald Trump, the thing with Donald Trump, right, is he really believes that he's an absolute honest person, and he thinks that because he can say things to you that are criminal, and he will just say, well, yeah. Like the whole Georgia thing, where he's on the phone call and he's saying to them, I want you to find me these votes. Right? And the only reason why he thinks to himself there's nothing wrong with the phone call is because no one else on that phone call said, sir, you can't ask them to find you votes like that. So that's why he believes that there's nothing wrong with it. That's why he believes it's a perfect phone call. He sat in this deposition and he said, and the lady said to him, going back to the Access Hollywood tapes, you said that you just go up to women and you just kiss them and you just grab them by the pussy. So Donald Trump's like, yeah, that's correct. Locker room talk. So she said to him, she's asking some further questions, and he said to her, oh, well, that's what's been happening for like a million years. Famous men have been able to do, men who are stars have been able to do that to women for a million years. I don't know where he got a million years from, but anyway, right, but for a million, that would make this motherfucker a caveman, I'm sure. Right, but that's his behavior. His behavior is caveman, and he thinks, right, by honestly, openly saying to people, well, the fact is, like, I wouldn't rape her because I don't fancy her, right? As if to say rape is about that. Rape might be about that sometimes, right? But that you might as well just go into court and say, well, she was wearing a short skirt. It was like a belt. You might as well go into court and say that. Right. So I don't know how they didn't find him guilty of rape, but he's got found. But he is he's a convicted sexual predator. In the obviously in the civil courts, but still it doesn't take anything away from it. That's what he is. So. And, speaking of sexual bloody predators, like I can't remember what this guy's name. I think he's a congressman. Or he might be a senator. One of the two, he's either a congressman or a senator. But he's one of these people who have been all the time saying, oh, the Democrats are the paedophiles and this and that. Turns out that he's been grooming a 17-year-old. Do you know what I mean? And you think, really? Do you know what I mean? And he's had to resign now, right? Because he's been found to be, everything with these people is just pure projection. If when the right wing and and they're accusing the left of doing this or they're accusing the left of doing that, right? They are always the people who are getting up to it. I mean, the other day, Donald Trump, was in a town hall meeting, and all of a sudden, like he's speaking about January the 6th, and all of a sudden he's mentioning Antifa, the anti-fascist. He's mentioning Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and saying, "Oh look, they've murdered loads of it." So what? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen, apart from people like Carl Rittenhouse coming and murdering people from Black Lives Matter, have you ever seen like police officers getting murdered through Black Lives Matter or Antifa or anything like that? But Donald Trump he just says these things, right? And his people believe every word he says. But let's move back over to England, because the Archbishop has described the Rwanda plan as unchristian. And you know him, the Archbishop, he's the sparkly hat guy. He's the one who actually put the hat on the head. And he's just described it as like unchristian. And the far right media in this country, most of our media is far right. So the far right media in this country is saying, well, he's unelected, isn't he? Look at him, unelected. And then obviously King Charles was someone who wasn't really down with the Rwanda plan, because the whole Rwanda plan is saying, you know what, right? We're going to, even though Britain's ass is broke, it's as broke as you like right now, right? But it's pouring all of this, right, onto the rest of the world. So, I mean, putting all the problems of the rest of the world onto other countries who are just much poorer than in this country, even in the state that this country is in. We're just much poorer than this country. So the whole Rwanda plan is something that's just completely inhumane anyway. And I look at these people, I think to myself, how the hell Rishi Sunak and Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman and Priti Patel, you can sit in a room with a load of white people and say, oh, well, I want to send people who look like me and Kwasi Kwarteng to Rwanda. But the white Ukrainians, bring them over. The white Ukrainians, I've got nothing against Ukrainians, but I'm just using them as an example. Right? In the same way how I use Israel as an example, right, of how comes Ukraine gets all the help, but the brown people in Palestine get the shit beaten out of them for all these years. And let's talk about some Brexit, because the BBC editor told colleagues not to investigate Boris's £350 million bus claim. You see, Brexit was just a complete manipulation from start to finish. That's what these people was doing. It was just manipulating on a grand scale. And now, look at the state of the country now. Right? People can't afford to pay their utilities. The NHS is on its face. Export trade is just completely trashed. And these people are, all these people are doing on a daily basis is just lying. There's been a massive climb down in the bonfire of EU rules. Massive climb down. Kemi Badenoch, massive climb down, because she's looked at these laws and none of it makes any sense. Because when they're saying, oh well, all these Brexit opportunities that we've failed to take up, no one's actually said to them, what are the Brexit opportunities? What are they? What are they? Where are they? What are they? Tell me. Because there are no Brexit opportunities. Because, the whole problem is you can't get your goods in from the market next door. Okay? So you can't get your goods into the market next door. So that immediately cuts Britain off, right? Even when they're talking about these free ports, right? My first question was, well, can free ports, right, get their goods directly straight into the EU? No, of course they can't. And that has always been the problem, right? No one is actually questioning it. No one's actually saying to these people. But, the whole thing is, I don't think a lot of that really makes any difference, because even now, if you notice, that the main parties are still frightened of mentioning anything about Brexit, right? Apart from the Tories always want to use it. So, well, look, they're trying to reverse Brexit. Anything like Labour and the Liberals do, they're trying to reverse Brexit, as if to say, yeah, that Brexit is going well, and Brexit, right, is like a big pile of shit, right? And these people are like, well, can we just spray some gold spray on it, right, and make it look good, right, and maybe, you know, spray a bit of Chanel round it. That's what Brexit is. A big pile of shit, right, sprayed in gold with Chanel. Great stuff. Anyway, guys, look, I've gone well over on this video, but I haven't done a video. You know, this is a bank holiday week, and I didn't do a video, I think, on Wednesday and Thursday, which I was supposed to, but I'm going to be doing a short video on profits. So I really want you to look out for that one, because it's going to be a short, it's not going to be that long, but it's just going to be on profits, profits, profits. So my friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.